Now we are discussing Newton's third law of motion. Newton's third law of motion has not been completely studied in all cases in the past 337 years. It neglects the shape of the body, composition, etc. This is a big limitation of the law in falling and rebounding bodies. The law has been generalized to account for the shape of the body and other significant factors. This generalization or extension may be confirmed experimentally. Original law, reaction equal to minus action. Generalized law, reaction equal to minus action. Kshape multiply Kcomposition multiply by Ktarget multiply by Kother. Basis of the discussion: paper published in international journals and presented in international conferences. The paper is in the press of Scopus Indexed Journal. Experiments are approved by scientists and scientific institutions of international repute. The discussion will appear on www.newton99.com and YouTube channel. What is the definition of Newton's third law of motion?
Newton's third law states as to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Equation: reaction is equal to minus action. The law would be regarded as completely true if two conditions are satisfied. Firstly, the reaction is precisely equal to action in magnitude, and secondly, the reaction is exactly opposite in direction. The definition and equation of the law are independent of any other factors, hence law is universal in nature, that is applicable in all cases. Action and reaction are expressed in terms of force. The law was given by Newton in 1686 in the Principia in Latin language. The Principia was translated into English by Andrew Motti in 1729, that is 2 years after death of Newton.
What is your point of view about 336-year-old Newton's third law at first sight?
Newton's third law has not been completely studied yet in some respects in past 337 years. The law neglects the shape of interacting bodies apart from other significant factors like composition. Thus, in my opinion, the reaction may be equal, less, or more than action depending upon experimental variables.
What is the basis of your different claim for such a fundamental law of science?
Well, if it is a fundamental law of science, then it must be impartially confirmed in all the cases and results must be true. What law is not experimentally confirmed in some experiments in past 337 years? In the experiments, the shape of body is a significant factor, hence must be studied in specific experiments. However, scientists have not planned experiments to understand the effect of shapes of bodies in falling and rebounding bodies. The bodies have different shapes: spherical, umbrella shaped, flat, any arbitrary shape, etc. Hence, we are specifically considering the freely falling and rebounding bodies. The falling body's action is the force, and in this case action is weight, and weight of the body mg, or gravitational force of attraction. If mass of body is the same, then action, that is force or weight, would be same irrespective of shape and composition. For the mass of body 1 kg watt of different shapes and compositions, the action is same 9.8 newtons, hence the reaction is also same 9.8 newtons according to Newton's third law of motion. It must be experimentally confirmed whether action is precisely equal to reaction in magnitude and opposite in direction.
You are saying that the shape of the body is very significant. Can you illustrate the effect of the shape of the body with simple physical examples even on the qualitative level.
Consider falling and rebounding basketball and rugby ball of the same mass 1 kg and precisely of the same compositions from a height of 1 meter. Both balls have different shapes. The basketball is round and rugby ball is oval. Now, both the balls have the same action 9.8 Newton and should have the same direction, and the direction of the action must be exactly opposite to the direction of the action must be opposite to action. Under certain conditions, the basketball may rebound to the original height of 1 meter exactly retracing the path. And we say that Newton's third law is obeyed in this case. Thus, for basketball, experimentally action and reaction are precisely equal and exactly opposite in direction. So, Newton's third law is quantitatively justified under these conditions for the basketball. On the other hand, a rugby ball rebounds to a lesser height than 1 meter and at different angles. So, Newton's third law is not justified in case of rugby ball. In case of rugby ball neither magnitude of action is equal to the reaction nor the direction is precisely opposite. So the law is not qualitatively or qualitatively or grossly justified in such observations. This anomaly is due to shape of the rugby ball, as the composition of both basketball and rugby ball is regarded as precisely the same. This is theoretical analysis based upon the quantitative observations. It may be experimentally justified quantitatively in specific experiments.
Did Newton not study these simple looking experiments or observations?
No, Newton did not conduct these experiments. Also, the following scientists have not analyzed the effect of shape quantitatively in such cases in the past 337 years. So, these experiments are original. Thus, in case of falling and rebounding bodies, the law is regarded as true without experiments.
A famous example of Newton's third law of motion is quoted in warfare. When the bullet is fired, it moves forward and the gun moves backward. Like this, Newton's third law is regarded as true.
Yes, recoil of gun is a famous example of the third law. When the bullet is fired from gun, the gun moves in the backward direction. What here? The law is justified qualitatively or grossly only. I mean to say that recoil velocity of the gun is not measured as predicted by the equation. V gun is equal to minus mass bullet multiplied by bullet velocity divided by mass of gun, equation 2. Thus, equation is obtained using law of conservation of momentum, the third law of motion. This equation is not quantitatively confirmed. The law would be quantitatively confirmed if velocity is measured by controlling various factors and equation 2 is justified. This argument also applies to motion of airplanes, helicopters, etc. In this case, Kcompositioni's ideal rocket equation is given by V is equal to VE natural log m0 divided by m, equation 3. Practically, it is impossible to measure the mass and velocity of the exhaust gas, fire, smoke, small particles which are emitted backwards. So, in such cases, the third law of motion is only qualitatively or grossly true, not quantitatively.
How did you improve Newton's third law of motion? What is your modified form of the law?
The modified form of the third law of motion may be considered as Every action has proportional reaction depending upon the shape, size, characteristics, etc. of interacting bodies. Reaction is proportional to action, or reaction is equal to minus k action. Mathematically, reaction is equal to minus action multiplied by Kshape multiplied by Kcomposition multiplied by Ktarget multiplied by Kothers. So the modified form of the law takes all factors in account such as shape of body, composition of body, characteristics of body, the nature of target and other useful factors. So it is comprehensive form of the law. Under certain conditions, the modified form of the law reduces to original form of the law when k is equal to 1. It is unequivocally accepted by the scientists that limitations of Newton's third law of motion may be established in simple experiments. The value of coefficients Kshape, Kcomposition, Ktarget, Kothers, etc. may be measured by measuring in specific experiments by method of standardizations, comparison and calibration.
Part 2 of the discussion, Interaction with CSIR, New Delhi and Prime Minister of India. What is the most encouraging incident in your 40 years of struggle regarding this and such other works? You have also published papers and books modifying Einstein's E equal to mc square and the oldest established law, Archimedes' principle.
My first paper modifying Newton's third law of motion was published in 1998-99, that is 25 years ago. Let me quote a encouraging incident in my life that took place on 1st August 2018 at Washington conference organized by American Association of Physics Teachers USA. I had gone to Washington, USA to present 3 papers, Newton's third law, Newton's second law and Archimedes' principle at my own expenditure as no help was received from the government and other sources. On 1st August 2018, I made my presentation, What is Newton's third law? On what aspects it is not studied in past 337 years? What are its limitations? Justified by qualitative or initial experiments? What is the experimental method to show limitation of Newton's third law of motion? And what would be the modified form of the law? Then one of the American scientists said, Ajay, if you could prove your modification of Newton's third law experimentally, then it would bring Nobel Prize for India. My approach has always been scientifically correct and positive. It was vindicated impartially at the Washington Conference of American Association of Physics Teachers.
Your work has also been appreciated by the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi.
Yes, I contacted many scientists of global repute in 2018 and all mentioned in writing my objection to Newton's third law of motion are original and genuine. Then I sent papers to Director General, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi. My project was evaluated with details. In October 2019, a report, SWOT analysis, that is strength, weakness, originality, threat analysis, approved the originality of my work. I was asked, I quote, submit the project through some university or research institute for financial help with procedural or instrumental details. At that time, I was Assistant Director Education Shimla, job involving improvement of schools in HP, transfer of teachers and other administrative responsibilities. I had no laboratory facilities in my office was related to research, not related to research. I have taught physics at DAV College Chandigarh and lectured physics at Shimla for years. I tried to send the project, but it was not accepted even by the government research funding portal, stating that I was on verge of retirement and without laboratory facilities at my place of work, and some scientists initially tried to help in sending the project. What I believed in God and continued working.
You also wrote to Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, and PMO took the right steps for re-evaluation of your work by sending papers to the Director General, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi.
Yes, thanks for PMO for the same. I retired in March 2021. I have no way out. The Himalayas were right on the door. Then I wrote to Prime Minister of India for experimental facilities for approved projects in January 2022. Then 5-member committee of expert scientists was constituted by Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi. The report of the committee was sent on 11 November 2022. Your project has already been evaluated by committee in 2019 in SWOT analysis. Send the project as directed earlier and explain some more experiments with details. However, experimental facilities were not provided. I was not called for personal presentation. What they agreed with my project completely. Now I have retired from the government job 3 years ago, and how a retired person can submit a project as the idea is approved. It is responsibility of the government to get the experiments done. I am ready to work 24/7. Government spends billions of rupees yearly on education and research. These experiments may cost 10 to 15 lakhs rupees with the existing facilities of ISRO, DRDO, HAL, and engineering laboratories. It is an epoch-making project. If approved, scientists of international repute in writing have approved it. What else I can do? On 22nd November 2022, I replied to CSIR New Delhi through a speed post, waiting for the reply even now. Then Office of Prime Minister of India called me telephonically maybe in December 22 or January 2023. Whether I was satisfied with the response from the CSIR New Delhi, I simply replied, please give me experimental facilities. An American scientist called it a prospective work for the Nobel Prize. My work is approved by scientists time and again. Thanks for the PMO for the same. I am still waiting reply from Office of the Prime Minister of India and CSIR New Delhi. My work is approved. Just few experiments are needed to establish modification of the fundamental law of science, that is Newton's third law of motion.
Let us move to the third part of the discussion. Nobel Prize for India for the work done on Indian soil. Well, you are saying a big thing, the Nobel Prize for India for work done on the Indian soil in science. Dr. C.V. Raman won the Nobel Prize for India in 1930 in physics for work done on Indian soil. However, various scientists of Indian origin got Nobel Prize as US and British citizen for work done in the US and England.
If you look into Indian history of science, self-confidence and hard work has been the biggest motivation for the work. My work is original and scientific, supported by the scientific community. I am 100% sure that one of the basic laws of science, Newton's third law of motion, needs modification as it neglects shape of the body, which is the most important factors. It neglects other factors as well. It can be easily established experimentally. Some scientists believe that India would have gotten a Nobel Prize in fundamental physics if government would have got the experiments conducted. I believe in hard work only.
As you are struggling too much for a noble cause for the world of science and pride of 140 crore or 1.4 billion Indians, but not getting help from the government, so you must be frustrated and might have left research work by now, as you are now 61 years old without a job.
Out of 6 decades of life, I have spent 4 decades in such works. The comments of CSIR New Delhi, PMO New Delhi, and other scientists and institutions of international repute are encouraging. My work is original and my thinking is scientific. The results of experiments would be epoch-making. I have some papers on Newton's first and second laws. The known availability of experimental facilities for the third law did not deter me from the further research. I said to those papers on Newton's first law and second law, no stopping at all. I have completed these papers in past 1 year apart from other family responsibilities. Also, health is another issue at this advancing age, as I have been under treatment for depression and diabetes for decades. God helps those who help themselves. I have completed innovative papers on Newton's first and second laws of motion. Thus, Newton's three laws of motion needs to be relooked even after 337 years of continuous use. The papers and the scientific discussions regarding Newton's three laws of motion are available on my website www.newton99.com and YouTube channels free of cost. Some papers are being published in the Scopus Indexed Journals. I humbly request comments and suggestions from the readers. Thank you.